The 2024 Northern Virginia housing market has been one of the most challenging markets I've ever seen. This year, the number of new listings hitting the market are still at historically low levels, interest rates have been hovering right around 7%, and home affordability is getting more out of reach by the day. Yet, most homes this year still sold the first weekend with multiple offers and for way above asking price. So will this trend continue in 2025? So in this week's video, I'll share with you my bold Northern Virginia housing market predictions for 2025. Will prices go up? Will they go sideways, or will the market finally crash? We're about to find out, so sit back, relax, because we're getting started right now. Boom! Hey everybody, it's David, your favorite realtor, and welcome back to another video. So how do I come up with my predictions? Well, unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball to tell me the future, so I do the second best thing. I did hours and hours of research for this video. I looked at a lot of numbers on my local MLS going as far back as 2018. I read a ton of articles, watched a ton of YouTube videos, plus what I've been seeing being boots in the ground in our housing market. Now, I'll be right on some of these predictions, but I'll definitely be wrong on some as well. Before I get started, this video is for Northern Virginia only. This is not a nationwide predictions video, as real estate is hyper local and every market's gonna be different. Especially since Northern Virginia is one of the most educated and affluent areas in the whole country. So naturally, our housing market is gonna be completely different than the nation as a whole. So let's get the video started right now with my first Northern Virginia housing market prediction for 2025 with inventory levels will rise by 7 to 10%. So one of the biggest challenges this year, and really ever since rates went from 3 to 7% in a matter of months back in 2022, has been a lack of new listings hitting the market. Now here's a very common scenario these past couple years for home buyers. Buyers could go weeks at a time without seeing a home that meets their criteria. And then when they finally find their favorite home, well, it happens to be 10 other buyers' favorite home as well. And now they're competing against 10 other offers. They end up losing the house and then they're back to the drawing board. And this can be an extremely frustrating and demoralizing scenario. Now, brand new listings that hit the market in 2024 did go up 6.37% compared to 2023, but still well short of recent history. Now, if you look at the numbers, new listings that hit the market this year are down 28% compared to the 5-year average between 2018 and 2022, which is the 5-year period before rates hit 7+%. In fact, home prices probably would have stayed flat this year had the normal amount of inventory hit the market. So the demand for housing was still way higher than the available supply of homes for sale. So that is why home prices went up this year. So the dramatic drop in new listings that hit our market these past couple of years has been due to high mortgage rates. As a lot of potential home sellers, they chose not to sell because they didn't want to sell their home with a 3% rate and then turn around and buy a new home at a 7+% interest rate. Especially in this scenario, their mortgage payment could potentially more than double. But pent-up seller demand, it is definitely increasing because most sellers are now starting to accept the fact that rates are what they are and life events are happening, whether it's a need for a bigger home, smaller home, or leaving Northern Virginia altogether. So a lot of potential home sellers who thought about selling these past couple of years, well, they're ready to jump off the sidelines, get their homes on the market in 2025, and move on to their next chapter in life. So even with a 7 to 10% bump in inventory, we will still be well below the average of 2018 to 2022. So we have a long way to go to get back to normal inventory levels, but at least we're going in the right direction. Now my next prediction is mortgage rates will decline, but only slightly, as they will fluctuate in the 6 to 6.5% range. So mortgage rates are basically impossible to predict, as there are so many different factors that go into rates. Like, who would have predicted that in 2020 we would have a global pandemic which would cause rates to hit all-time lows, and then just a couple years later rates hit 8% for the first time since the year 2000. And 2025 is an even harder year to predict, especially with the new administration going into office in January. So who knows how the new administration's policies will affect inflation, the economy, global economic events, and ultimately how the Federal Reserve reacts to all of this. Will the Federal Reserve be hawkish or dovish with rate cuts? Well, that is yet to be determined. Now, the good news is the Federal Reserve has currently paused the intense rate hikes we saw in 2022 and 2023, and they actually cut interest rates 3 times in 2024. So I believe we're going in the right direction with mortgage rates. However, a lot of experts are calling for a slowing down of rate cuts by the Fed in 2025. So even if they do slow down rate cuts, the Federal Reserve is still predicted to do 2 to 3 cuts in 2025, and more rate cuts will help influence interest rates going down, even if they only go down slightly. So in last year's predictions video, I predicted by the end of this year, rates would be in that 5.85% range, but I was definitely wrong on that one, as rates are closer to 7% than they are 5%. As currently, the 30-year fixed rate is 6.95%. So even with a slowdown in rate cuts by the Fed, I still believe that rates will drop in 2025, but only by a little bit and probably not enough to move the needle, as they will fluctuate in that 6 to 6.5% range the majority of the year, but at least we're going in the right direction. Now my next prediction is home prices will rise 6 to 9% in 2025. Again, this prediction is for Northern Virginia only, as other markets in the country will definitely not see the same 6 to 9% increase in home prices. In fact, some markets, home prices will stay flat, and in other markets, prices may even go down. But I'm very bullish on home prices going up here in Northern Virginia in 2025, especially since this is one of the most educated, wealthiest, and affluent areas in the whole country. Now, if you're a potential home buyer in 2025, I know this is not what you wanted to hear, but I am just the messenger, so please don't shoot the messenger. But with that being said, I would personally love to see a pullback in prices because that would 100% make me a buyer in 2025. But I 1000% do not see home prices going down in 2025. In fact, if you look at the data, historically, US home prices have increased in most years, and significant price drops are extremely rare. Now, from 2007 to 2011, during the Great Recession, this is the most notable exception of home prices dropping in modern US history. So just looking at the history, I wouldn't bet a single dollar that home prices will go down in 2025, especially in one of the wealthiest areas in the country. So in my last year's predictions video, I predicted home prices would go up 3 to 6% this year. And I was almost right on the money, as home prices have gone up 7.13% this year compared to 2023. Now, the number one reason why home prices will rise in 2025, it's simple: supply and demand. We are still going to have way more demand than the supply can handle. Now, I am predicting 7 to 10% more new listings hitting the market in 2025, which will definitely help, but it will not be enough to satisfy the demand. So I expect 2025 to be very similar to 2024, with most homes getting multiple offers, most homes selling above asking price, which leads to home prices rising. Now my next prediction is rent prices will rise in 2025, but not as much as they did in 2024. So the average 3+ bedroom rental in Northern Virginia went up over $300 per month in 2024. Let's look at the numbers. So in 2023, the average 3+ bedroom rental here in Northern Virginia was $3,350 per month. Now let's compare that to this year, 2024, where the average 3+ bedroom rental comes out to $3,675 per month. So we saw a $325 increase in 2024, which is by far the highest year-over-year increase in the past 10 years. Because on average, rent prices usually go up $50 to $100 every single year. So why did rent prices go up so dramatically in 2024? As high mortgage interest rates has crippled home affordability, as it is substantially less to rent a house versus buying the exact same house. Let me show you an example. So here's an active rental listing in Ashburn for $4,500 per month. Now, if you were to purchase this exact same home, it will sell for at least $1.1 million. Now with a 10% down payment, then you add your taxes, insurance, PMI, and HOA dues, you're looking at a monthly mortgage payment of almost $8,000 per month. So this home would cost you $3,500 more per month to purchase versus renting it, and that is why the demand for renting is still strong and why rent prices have risen so much. Now with interest rates potentially going down in 2025, plus all the pent up buyer demand, a lot of current renters, they're just gonna bite the bullet, jump into the housing market and become buyers instead of renewing their leases, which will create less demand for rentals in 2025. So rent prices will still rise in 2025, but back to the normal levels of $50 to $100 increase year over year. Now my next prediction is the number of home sales will increase by 8%. So you may not know this, but back in 2023, nationally, we had the lowest amount of home sales since the 90s. and we followed that trend here in Northern Virginia as well. In fact, we had more home sales in 2008, which is during the biggest real estate crash we have ever seen with the Great Recession. And 2024 hasn't been much better than last year, and we are still going to end up with substantially less home sales compared to 2008. And this blows my mind that we're gonna have more sales in 2008 than 2023 and 2024. And I remember finding out this information last year. I 100% did not believe it, because the thought process was nobody was buying homes in 2008. That's why the market crashed. Well, apparently they were buying homes in 2008, and even way more than the last 2 years. Now, home sales did go up this year, but only by 2% compared to 2023. Now let's look at recent history. So we're gonna end 2024 with about 24,000 home sales in our region, which would be 31% lower than the average of the annual home sales between 2018 and 2022. Now, the reason for the bump in home sales in 2025 is there's a lot of pent-up seller and buyer demand. As we are going into year 4 of 6.5% plus interest rates, and the market is adjusting to higher rates. Plus, as time goes on, more life events happen to people, like having kids, getting married, relocating to and from Northern Virginia. So despite high mortgage rates, a lot of people who've been sitting on the sidelines these past couple years will jump into the marketplace in 2025. But even if the amount of home sales increases by 8%, it will still be well below our average. So overall, I believe the 2025 Northern Virginia housing market will be extremely similar to 2024. And I don't see any major changes happening, and we will remain in a seller's market with many homes getting multiple offers and selling for way above asking price. But as you know, if I see any changes or developments in our housing market, I'll make a brand new video to keep you updated every step of the way. And if you want to learn more about living right here in Northern Virginia, check out these videos right here. They're gonna be great ways to continue your research, and I'll see you in the next video.